Colin Kelly, Jackson Lansing, and Max Dunbar take us to the future Gotham as Terry McGinnis finds himself fighting against not just the city itself, but a deadly new villain who has arrived in Gotham to take over the late Bruce Wayne's company. Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing build off the Batman Beyond story seen in a recent Batman Urban Legends issue and run with the story of Bruce Wayne being killed by the Batcomputer and Terry McGinnis left alone to battle Gotham itself. Despite it continuing that story, it is kind of a great restart to Terry's story, especially for new readers since the hero has a brand new threat to deal with thanks to Gotham, and it almost puts him back at square one with his war on crime in Gotham. I like that the new idea of the city itself being the villain, thanks to the sentient Batcomputer basically taking over the technological metropolis and being able to watch Terry and mark his every move. It's quite interesting. On top of that, we get a cool new villain working on behalf of the sentient city, and Kelly and Lansing do something really interesting with the villain being kind of like the new Batman in a way, being that it's mentored literally by the Batcomputer and is being made to equalize out the deaths and lives in Gotham that Terry saves. Something like that feels very Jean-Paul Valley, Jason Todd in its characteristics, and I'm really intrigued to see what they do with this kind of concept. I'm looking forward to Terry having to go at it on his own as well, and I already love seeing his never give up attitude shine through in the book's diary entries he's writing. Max Dunbar paints a pretty picture of the Gotham of the future, giving it a great Akira Neo Tokyo look that the animated series did so well. I really enjoy the shift in villain designs here, with both the villains being these brightly coloured people and really standing out against the grimy, dark backgrounds of the huge cityscapes. Batman Beyond Neo Year Issue 1 was a great restart and continuation of Terry's journey as the Batman of the future, delivering a really refreshing and unique threat for Terry to contend with while also continuing to build out his character in a very cool direction. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. Batman Beyond Neo Year Issue 1 finds a computerized being awaken on New Year's, opening its billions of eyes and reaching out with its infinite trendles, killing Bruce Wayne not long after before taking full control of Neo Gotham and bringing it alive with no one knowing. Terry McGinnis, however, knows about what the Batcomputer has done as he writes down in his paper journal, knowing it's better to stay analog these days since there are eyes everywhere. He writes about stopping 8 muggings, 2 gang wars and a bank heist, but the bodies still pile up. As the days and weeks go by, Terry finds himself in the bullseye of the police who suspect Batman for many crimes around the city, but he stays invisible from most people in the city, assuring Bruce that he will keep fighting. Entering his Dead Zone hideout, Terry rests as he writes that Batman's legacy is still alive and he does what he can, but it took the Vultures only 60 days to come for everything. Later on, he walks through the rainy city as he notes after New Year's, Bruce's company needed a new CEO, and after a week, Donovan Lumos was chosen, knowing people have been calling him the Holographic Man. Terry gets ready for his first of the Trinity Galas, a set of 3 parties thrown over the next year, all put on by Wayne Powers, finding it disgusting that someone is using a dead man's name to promote a party and Batman has been counteracted while Bruce Wayne has been co-opted. As he picks up his suit from DeVivo's, he plans on it being a quiet night and he tries not to give Neo Gotham the satisfaction, but he fails as he beats up a man who is roughing up a small woman in the shop. He steals a man's invite to the party, getting through security where he sees the Holographic Man introducing everyone to the future made of pure light. He tells the people of his childhood as a poor kid in Fear K and how he had to scrap to survive since there wasn't a lot of light in the smog-covered Bloodhaven. He says his hard light holographics only bore fruit because he wanted to use them to rob banks and look good doing it. The people laugh as he says that he then saw them as something more and thought he could use them to give everyone the ability to be their best themselves of all time. He introduces his new product called Lumos and how it's only available in Neo Gotham through Wayne Powers, wanting to get the party started. Terry knows that he doesn't hate a lot of people since that makes him sloppy, but he does hate this guy as Lumos meets with Terry, really happy he could be there on behalf of Bruce since Bruce was an icon and a legend. Terry tells him to keep Bruce's name out of his mouth as he plants a trap tracker on the man. Lumos knows that it will be hard to do that since he runs his company now, taking his leave and telling his assistant to push all his calls, knowing he can't have anything going wrong at the docks with the drugs tonight. Terry listens on the device he planted on him and knows it's just like Bruce said, they really are a cowardly and superstitious lot. Suiting up, Batman heads into the city, heading to the best detective he knows to help him put together what Lumos is really up to. He heads to the GCPD where Commissioner Barbara Gordon tells an officer that if they want to transfer out of her unit and out of Gotham, since anyone who doesn't like what they have to work with can go. The woman says that Gordon made her want to be a cop and she won't quit on her, but she's a good cop and the department is wasting her. Barbara knows that one person can't do anything about the way the GCPD really works, and if she thinks she can, then maybe she isn't detective material after all. As the cop leaves, Batman arrives, thinking she sounded lovely, but Gordon knows that detective is whatever the opposite of nice is. Batman gets to task, telling her of Lumos and how he's using Wayne powers to bring drugs into the city via the company. Gordon wants him to turn over his bugged confession, but Batman isn't asking for her permission on this. Barbara reminds Terry that if that were true, she wouldn't have to say it. She is glad he came by though, since she reveals to him that she is retiring, since she has been at this for far too many years and there have been far too many dead people and dead friends. Terry thinks that this is a mistake, but she knows that the city doesn't need her anymore, knowing Bruce and her built the department into something that could last longer than them. While the city might be a cesspool for scumbags, it's safer, and while they take shots at Batman from time to time and the mayor rules with an iron fist, the crime rate is flat and it makes her glad. She takes her leave, knowing that it's a life's work. Terry refuses to tell her about what Gotham has become or that nothing she has done matters, since she would be dead the minute he left. He heads to the docks, surveying Lumos's men and picking them off one by one before destroying the illegal drugs, when suddenly he is attacked by a light sword wielding assassin who tells him that Batman is dead and Batman remains, since nothing is ever truly lost. He knows that the city needs to find some balance as Terry dodges his blows, knowing this guy isn't in any of Bruce's files and it's something new, which means he has to hope he has the right tool for the job. He flies into the air and the man pursues him, cutting at his feet with his long sword, as Terry writes that the man relies on his blade, but for good reason, since he can't counter anything Batman throws at him. Batman, however, kicks him in the face, dropping him to the ground and telling him to stand down since this won't go well for him or Gotham, thinking he is Gotham's agent. The being says that he is indeed Gotham's sword and the city isn't Batman's enemy, but it wants his heart and compliance, since the supplies he destroyed would have been evenly distributed throughout the city and over 8,000 people would have been hospitalized, with about 3,450 dying. Terry thinks that would have happened had he not stopped it, but the man knows that there is no winning or stopping the city, since there are currently 3,449 people under their feet in the building, and he has been sent to make sure they die and even the book. He unleashes a huge explosion from the sword, toppling the building as Terry falls into the wreckage, swearing to Bruce that he will keep fighting since Batman endures.